The first command which I use a lot is exclamation mark, exclamation mark. This basically expands the previous command that you ran. So let's say you run git status and you want to run git status again, you can do exclamation mark, exclamation mark to expand the previous command and you can run it again. Now you're probably thinking, why would you want to use exclamation marks when you can just press up and go back in history? Well, this is very useful when you want to use the previous command you ran in a new command. For example, let's say I want to create a directory in this protected space. /etc is a protected directory that would require sudo permissions. Now, if I try to do this, it says permission denied. Now, instead of having to repeat myself or go here and then go to the left to write sudo, I can just do sudo exclamation mark, exclamation mark, and it will expand that. And now I can enter my password to perform that administrative action. Here, I'm currently on a ZSH shell, but if you also go to bash, you can do the same thing, git status and exclamation mark, and we have the same thing. Second shortcut I use a lot is Ctrl L. Let's say you have a bunch of things on the terminal. When you want to clear all of this to a fresh page, what I would usually do before is clear. But instead of having to type clear, I can just do Ctrl L and that works. This also works for bash. If I do Ctrl L, that clears it. Another shortcut I started using a lot is exclamation mark and command. This would expand the previous command that you have in your history that starts with command. So for example, let's say we have git status. Let me just go into a repository. Yeah. So let's say we have this. Now I run git status and we have this. And then at some point I run ls to see the files and directories in this directory. But then I want to run the git command again. Now, instead of having to go up 2 times, I can just do exclamation mark and git, and then this will expand the previous git command that I ran. I can also do something like this for ls, and it would run the previous ls command that I ran. Now, in this case, I haven't done a lot of commands, so I can easily navigate up. But if I have a long history, then doing this is much better. Same thing on bash. If I should go to this repository here and I run git status, and then we have this, and I run git and I run ls, we have this. Now I can do this and git, and it would run the previous git command that I ran. Like you see again, bash would execute it for you, but in the case of ZSH, it would expand it for you so you can execute. I actually prefer this because then you are sure of what you are executing, and I think there's probably a way to configure that you shouldn't expand, it should just run directly, but in the case of bash, it just runs directly. Next command is reverse search. Reverse search allows you to search your repository in a reverse way, like from the last to the first, whatever is in the history. By the way, do you know if you type history here, you can see all the commands that you have to go back the stack of your history. I think that's the same thing for bash. I'm doing these comparisons because there are some features that might be available on ZSH but not available on bash. Anyways, the command I actually wanted to share with you, what was that? Oh yes, reverse search. So I can do Ctrl R for a reverse search, and now if I should do git, it can show me which command I ran before that has git in it. If I should do ls, it has this. If I should do hello, it has this as a command that I ran. If I should do make dar, it has this as a command that I ran. Same thing for bash, command R, and we have reverse search, and I can search for git, I can search for hub, and if it finds one occurrence but then you want to find more occurrences, you can keep pressing Ctrl R and it will keep looking for all other instances in your history. I think I've shared 4 so far. Now the 5th one is getting the arguments that you used in the previous command. Now let's say I change my configuration file for my ZSHRC. This is my configuration file where I have some aliases, I have a couple of things, and then let's just say I make some changes here and I save those changes. Now I have to run source and run this same file again. I can either copy and paste it or maybe type it again, but I can actually just get the arguments that I used in the previous command and paste it in this current command by using escape and dot. And depending on your terminal, you might be able to do alt and dot or control and dot. It can depend, but I think for many terminals, escape and dot will do that. So now I can just do this to source that configuration so that whatever changes I've made in the configuration file will be available in this current session that I'm in my terminal. Same thing with bash. If I'm to do I don't think I have a bash configuration file here. Do I? No, I only have bash history. But let's just say we had a bash /rc, which is not going to work because the file does not exist, but I can do source escape and dot, and I would get that argument without having to type the argument again. Now note that this is just for the last argument, because let's say for example I echo hello, hi. These are 2 arguments. Let's say I want to create files for all these arguments, so escape and dot, it would only pass hi and not hello, and now I can create hi, and you should see hi here. This is the file for hi. I'm very curious what the shortcut will be if you want to get all the arguments from the previous command. If you know that, let me know in the comment section. Another interesting shortcut is the command Z undo for terminal. So let's say you're working with Git and then you wanted to add a commit, but then you copied the wrong thing. Let's say you wanted to add a commit of new feature, but then this is something you copied and now you want to paste. But then when you press paste, you now realize that there's something else that you have copied. I said please link instead of please like. But instead of having to backspace your way to clear everything or come in here again and then trying to write it afresh, you can just do a command Z. So let me repeat the same mistake. I paste the wrong thing, but now if I do control_, which is undo, you can see that it basically undoes the last edit action, and now I can do the right thing. Please link and subscribe, by the way.